Yeah. Got audio this morning. That's good. That's a good sign. All right. Good morning, everybody. Hello, hello. I hope y'all like that thumbnail. I slaved over that one. See Sean Stryker with First Blood this morning. Boom. And I know, you guys have been chatting with each other before the show started, and, well, that doesn't count because I don't get to see that bit yet. So, alright, let's do this. Okay, and I'm just gonna go ahead and throw. a badge to Sergeant Major. So when I was telling the boys about this article that is kind of the baseline where I'm going to begin this conversation this morning, about cannibalism, I told him, Sergeant Major, I guarantee that Dad is going to say something about cannibalism being good psyops, and boom, there it is, just verbatim. I didn't even set that up. I didn't even tell him to say that. The old man does not disappoint, and I agree. Cannibalism, good psyops. If the enemy believes that you will consume them, yeah, and the best way to do that is to show them. But so we're going to start with this. We're going to start with a story that it's just bizarre. And the headline is this: Vegan burger hyped for tasting like human meat wins award. So, okay. There's a weird thing going on the left, and it's been going on for a while. I've got some articles that go back several years, and there's this bizarre obsession with cannibalism on the left. And there's one more article that I wanted to pull up. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, they do not disappoint. And I'll just go ahead and have that one pulled up separately. We'll get to that in a minute. So, the left, it's not just that it's kind of a creepy thing. Their obsession, like, cannibalism is good psyops, right? Good psychological warfare. It terrifies the enemy. If you can just make the enemy believe, right? It's kind of like the minefield on the Mexican border. I think we could solve a lot of our border crisis by just putting up signs that say, minefield. Right? You don't even have to put mines out there. Maybe every now and then you walk a goat out and let it blow up. But for the most part, you just hang the signs. Little barbed wire. Good to go. Crackshot says nihilism eventually leads to cannibalism. Yes. And that, guys, the annihilating nothing as it wasn't Kierkegaard. Anyway, the annihilating nothing, that ennui, that belief that nothing matters, right? Timcast did a show the other day about the importance of religion, which was refreshing and surprising coming from that particular group. Despite their having the avidly Catholic in Coughlin on there. I'd say they're mostly agnostics. But the thing here, the vegan burger hyped for tasting like human meat wins award. So there's apparently an appetite for this product, and the award, it's a vegan product that won an award at the Activation Lion at the Cannes Lions Festival of Creativity last week. That means that there's an appetite for something like this, right? Just straight horror movie product. And despite the apparently eerie similarity to human flesh, the spokesperson assures no humans were injured in the development of this product. Yeah, that's false. That's necessarily false, because at a minimum, somebody had to verify that the meat tasted like human flesh. Now, in their defense, there are cannibal tribes out there that still exist, and one would probably assume that the way that they did this, that they did the research to figure out whether or not it tasted suspiciously like human meat, was to interview someone from one of these tribes and have them do the taste comparison. Or perhaps they just called Reza Aslan. Reza Aslan, relatively well-known lefty activist journalist, used to work for CNN. There's a warning on this. This article is more than 5 years old, and that's the point. That this whole thing's been going on for a while. Reza Aslan outrages Hindus by eating human brains in CNN documentary. All right, Reza Aslan, the scholar and TV scholar. Good God, we throw that word around like it's got no value anymore. Scholar and TV presenter has been pressured to eat human brains while filming with a fringe cannibalistic Hindu sect for a new series on the world's religions. But that might be the least of the problems the show has caused the American author. Some Indians and American Hindu groups say the opening episode of his CNN series, Believers, which focuses on the obscure Aghori sect, was Hindu-phobic and sensationalized aspects of the world's third largest religion. But this right here, that might be the least of the problems the show has caused the American author. And we get to this. Some Indians and American Hindu groups say the opening episode of the series. You're telling me that a CNN Democrat activist went to India to find an obscure sect and eat human brains with them, and only some Indians with a dot, not a feather. Sorry, babe, not your people. Or not sorry, actually. But some Indians and American Hindu groups found this bizarre. Crackshot says Kali Ma. Absolutely Kali Ma. Yeah, snatch that heart right out, baby. Crackshot asks, human meat is similar to pork. That's the rumor. And in fact, it is often referred to by cannibals as long pig, or long pork. But yeah, Stryker points out prions, Prius, prissy men fitting. Yes. So it's not just this bizarre entry into the culinary experience that there's now a human flavored vegan burger. You have to remember who these people are, and I want to bring to your attention this. I'm going to skip forward a little bit so that you just kind of. So you've got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doing a town hall where she's talking to a bunch of presumably leftists. And this woman stands up and makes we'll say presentation.
But that's not fast enough. So I think your next campaign slogan has to be this. We got to start eating babies. We don't have enough time. There's too much CO2. All of you're a pollutant. Too much CO2. We have to start now. Please you are so great. I'm so happy that you really support a new Green Deal, but it's not enough. Even if we would bomb Russia, we still have too many people, too much pollution. So we have to get rid of the babies. That's a big problem.
Now, okay, so this girl's commentary gets pretty nonsensical, and I suspect what actually happened here, and I don't know that we ever actually got it confirmed. And frankly, I don't care to research it much deeper because I'm relatively certain that what you actually have here is a total troll. And Steve beat me to the punch there. What a modest proposal. That's exactly what this is she's basically riffing on Jonathan Swift in A Modest Proposal, where he argued that we should consume the flesh of the papist young in order to stave off the potato famine, reduce population, and all of that stuff. Sean Stryker says InfoWars interviewed her. Okay, that might be worth looking up later. But here's what I want you to pay attention to. I'm going to back it up just a few seconds. And I want to make sure that we stay on this shot where AOC is still in the frame. Watch AOC as this woman stands up and just makes this completely insane proposal.
We have to get
Watch AOC there. She's holding the microphone. Yep.
Just
nodding. Yep.
Having babies is not enough. We need to eat the babies. And this is very serious. Please give a response.
Thank you. No,
Okay.
Thank you.
So they eventually get this chick to sit down, and AOC begins to address her. And this is the other thing that I want you to pay attention to.
Okay. No, we'll go ahead. It's so no. Yeah, no. Thank you. So I think so one of the things that's very important to us is that we need to treat the climate crisis with the urgency that it does present. Luckily, we have more than a few months. We do need to hit net zero in several years. But I think we all need to understand that there are a lot of solutions that we have and that we can pursue, and that if we act in a positive way, there's space for hope. We are never beyond hope. Okay.
See. Okay, yeah, a little more. I didn't play the very beginning of the clip when the chick first stands up. She says basically, climate change is going to destroy the world in just a few months, and it's not enough. Everything that we're doing is not enough. The Green New Deal is not enough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the solution is that we need to eat the babies to reduce the population and solve world hunger. Right? And I just played for you, after that chick sat down, almost a full minute, 54 seconds, and there are 6 more seconds of this video, but almost a full minute of AOC immediately after this woman stands up and says, the Green New Deal is a good start, but if we really want to save the world from ending in the next few months, then we need to start eating the babies now. And AOC didn't refute that. Now, to her defense, I suspect she was surprised and put off and ill-prepared to deal with that commentary, and fell back on a desperate need to save face and not upset a potential voter. But let's be real. If a conservative speaker like me were faced with a similar troll, a similar heckler, it's just like, no, honey, sit the fuck down. We're not eating the babies. Shocked, and yeah, Sergeant Major, I'll grant that shocked is a reasonable excuse to perform poorly in response to that. But a full minute of commentary where she agreed with the woman's general premise that something has to be done to mitigate, reverse, control climate change, and refused to outright rebut or deny the claim for Wait, Pit Danny says her name is Alice Cooper. Okay, I'm going to have to look that up because that's too damn funny. Alice Cooper, eat the babies. And comically, I think that would, eat the babies sounds like a song that Alice Cooper would do. But it's not. Okay, so we've tackled that a little bit, kind of the comedy and the weirdness of this whole thing with the human flesh, and I'll grant them that's a pretty impressive logo, or the advertisement they got there. I'm incredibly proud of this award and the great teamwork behind it. Our mission is to change how people eat, and it is our duty to use creativity as a tool to make this change happen. And in fairness, this bizarre thing was part of a Halloween-related publicity stunt, and they're probably not actually trying to market this as a real to the table to the market product. Much more likely, I'm talking about the name of the company is Oomph, right? Henrik Ackerman, global brand leader at Oomph, said, "I'm incredibly proud of this award, etc., etc." And I'll grant that as far as a campaign, an advertising campaign, it's brilliant because, I mean, I heard about it. I heard people talking about it on news radio yesterday. Reading this article, I'm telling you about it. So that's a very effective ad campaign. I'll grant that. But it's not like it started here. Yeah, TPS report says, well, shit, it's not even real human, it's plants. Yeah, you're going to have a hard time getting me to screw with a veggie burger, vegan burger. Let me tell you, the difference between humans and vegans is I've never wanted somebody to make me a cheeseburger that looked like a carrot or a steak that tasted like a salad. I'm happy to put steak on my salad. In fact, without a little bippity-boppity bacon bits, I'm likely not going to have a salad. Salad is what food eats. But the world has been a weird place for a while. Like I showed you earlier, the Reza Aslan story, his initiation into cannibalism was more than 5 years ago, right? And we've got these reports, News Wars. It's a little bit of an off-market news site, but the World Economic Forum released another Great Reset public service announcement over the weekend, reminding the masses that they will soon eat bugs in the name of saving the Earth. And this article is a year old, so that's not news, right? We saw the Great Reset video. You will own nothing and you will be happy. You will eat bugs. You will eat insect proteins. Cattle meat will be a treat, an occasional treat, not a dietary staple. And you will eat the bugs, Sith Lord Schwab. And if you haven't been paying attention, guys, go watch any video of Klaus Schwab speaking. He's literally a Bond villain in a world that doesn't have a legitimate Bond. But so you got that article from a year ago, but here's one this is just from the other day. Actually, I don't know what the hell this is. Billionaire, this is some kind of... Yeah, this is trash. I don't know why that's pulled up. But there's also this thing, this conspiracy theory about, the evil blood-drinking lefty elites. And this is kind of how a conspiracy theory, the bizarre conspiracy theories start. There's a grain of truth that gets taken in the wrong direction. Like, I'm sure several years ago, you guys remember the Pizzagate scandal, which to all appearances looks like it was a hoax. but the suggestion was that there was this pizza joint in D.C. that all the Democrats used for human trafficking. But I don't know if you've been paying attention for the last, I don't know, just a couple of weeks, but the hard push to trans the children, to groom children, grooming children and normalizing, as Sydney would say, fans of pudding people, to avoid using the P word. You're not allowed to use the P word on YouTube, because much like every other horrible, evil thing, YouTube is for it. And so you have to criticize it with caution. So the fans of pudding people thing, we've absolutely seen serious hardcore grooming going on. And especially right now, as we're closing out Pride Month, and people are taking their children to Pride parades and Pride festivals to watch adults commit acts of perverse, extraordinary sexual debauchery in full view of the public on public land. Sergeant Major asks, so when I give blood, is there a risk that Benjamin Button will come back? No, Dad, you're safe because you're old. They don't want you. You're too old. It's kind of like that meme where you see Joe Biden talking to AOC and she says, sorry, dude, I'm not interested. You're just too old. And Biden says, yeah, same. You're just too old. There was the conspiracy theory that the elites are drinking babies' blood, right? And there's this, they're lizard people and they're vampires. Blah. Well, that starts somewhere, right? I mean, if you ever wonder where the lizard people theory comes from, just look at Nancy Pelosi. I dare you. But the idea that the baby blood thing was completely just a made-up bullshit conspiracy theory, that it is a conspiracy theory. Or that the falsity of the conspiracy theory has been marginally debunked. So it's not that rich people are buying babies and biting into their necks and drinking them like vampires with a precious little Capri Sun pouch. But it is the case that because the super wealthy are now pumping themselves with the blood of young people in an attempt to prevent themselves from aging, over 100 people have participated in a clinical trial at a San Francisco startup offering blood transfusions for older patients. Each procedure costs $8,000 and sees the patient injected with 2.5 liters of plasma, the liquid element of blood that remains after other cells have been removed, taken from young people. So that it's not a conspiracy theory, it's a thing that's happening. Steve says, I think we can blame Niven, Asimov, etc. for bringing this into existence. That's fair. I mean, Star Trek gave us iPads and cellular phones and all kind of other diagnostic equipment. Hell, Star Trek is single-handedly responsible for rearranging the command layout of naval vessels. No shit, an admiral watched an episode of Star Trek and saw the captain's chair thing and said, wait, what? Why don't we do this? But we've got, all of this comes back around to something we've been hearing, and especially Bill Gates has been criticized for making claims and think of the sort. This article is a little older. It's from 2019. But from 7 billion to 500 million people, the sick population control agenda of the global elite. The United Nations has officially designated October 31st, 2011 as 7 Billion Day. On that day, the United Nations estimates that the population of the Earth hit 7 billion for the very first time. The current estimate is 8 billion. Now, let's have a little perspective on that. We're talking about a jump of 1 billion people in just over 10 years. If you remember correctly, The estimate was 6 billion in the 80s. So it took 30 years to go from 6 to 7 and 10 years to go from 7 to 8. Now, I'm somewhat dubious of those numbers because the population estimates are being reported to us by the same people who say we need to introduce programs to limit the population. And the argument that they're making is that the population will outpace our ability to produce food and cause big problems that way. Now, there are pretty good arguments that you cannot overpopulate the planet. And those arguments are all centered around ideas like, the more population, the more production capacity, but also that there's a point at which the population will kill itself off to bring itself back to a level that it can manage. And that's not even necessarily to say that, okay, we hit 10 billion and all of a sudden we're going to have a massive global war that kills off half of them. At a certain level, starvation will start to solve the problem. At a certain level, infectious disease will start to solve the problem, right? So the idea that we're going to overpopulate the planet, is a little spurious to say the least, a little dubious to say the least. But this idea that we should reduce the population of the planet to 500 million, guys, that's a 95% reduction. Think about that. That's eliminating 95% of the population. And this is a thing that maybe not quite to the extent of going all the way down to 5 million, but that mass population reduction has been a vocal and open part of the World Economic Forum plans, Bill Gates plans. These are, I'm not saying, and I'm not going so far as to say that Bill Gates is trying to murder 4 billion people or whatever, but he has spoken openly about a need to cap the population and reduce it, to at least lower the rate of birth across the world to reduce the global population. Crackshot says they said similar stuff before World War I and II started. Population was a big concern in the early 1900s, and yes, that is absolutely true. And that's another piece of perspective. These population alarmists are not unlike the climate alarmists. The same people who are telling you today that the world will be on fire in a month were screaming new global ice age in the 70s. And when that didn't pan out, they said, well, we'll just scream the other direction. And it is true that there is such a thing as climate change. Climate does change over time. But the claims that they're making are, 95% of scientists, there's a 95% consensus. Those scientists got busted committing academic fraud to prove their claims. Right? That's who these people are. They're professional fraudsters who want you to live on bugs and fantasize about consuming human flesh. And not for a legitimate purpose like psychological warfare. They're just into it. And when I say they're into it, I hate to even admit this. There was another story several months ago that was kind of related to this, and when I went to research it, I went to search for some stuff on Google. I was looking for some images to craft the thumbnail, and I don't remember what it was that I searched, but it was related to the article. And the article, I think it was actually the first time that I talked about the chick trolling AOC. Google hit me with a bunch of images from, I shit you not, cannibalism pornography. And the one that really just burned my eyeballs, and I will never be able to get out of my head, the image that traumatized me was basically a Thanksgiving dinner with a naked woman who had the little white footy things on her feet and hands, and she was naked and hogtied on a table with an apple in her mouth, surrounded by naked people with forks and knives. And it was just a photograph, and I was like, but it had a title. I don't remember what the title was. The image was just, I mean, but it was a pornography film. It was an advertisement for a porno film, targeted at, people like AOC, obviously. It was targeted at the kind of people who are super excited about this, right? So they don't care what we do. They only want government grants to allow them to be paid for playing smart. Old man, I have often considered just saying, you know what? I'm going to make a documentary about saving the planet and just see who will give me a pile of money for it. Maybe that's a good play. Maybe I could do one of those where I go out to prove something. I go out with the intent to prove something, and instead discover the opposite, and publish that. That'd be fun. But yeah, that kind of pornography with a woman done up on a table, like it's a Thanksgiving spread, and a cast of presumably family characters surrounding her, and and I'm going to close on this. These are the same people who for nearly a week now have been engaged in acts of violence to protest the possibility that states have had returned to them the authority which was illegitimately seized through judicial activism and bench legislation. They have had the authority returned to them to protect the lives of human children. The people that are super excited about human-flavored vegan burgers, eating bugs, living in pods, and tying up naked women on your Thanksgiving table and grooming children are incensed to violence over the idea that the government, whose constitutional obligation is to protect your rights, principally amid which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, from destructive forces. They want to kill your babies, and they're willing to use violence to coerce the government into allowing them to use that violence. Their arguments are things like, well, you only care about them until they're born. If babies really mattered, then deliveries would be free, and formula would be free, and everything would be free. And you mean we would go around from door to door with guns and, through threat of violence, confiscate the properly earned wealth of otherwise free people in order to subsidize the progenation of the less adequate? The only solution these people ever have is violence. It's not their last resort. It's their first response. So, thanks for watching this morning. We love you guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm going to try to get the Skype thing working again. We just haven't used it in so long that I've got to figure out what has to be updated. And hopefully Cameron's out on a mission. And so hopefully I can get that sorted out this weekend. or I'm sorry, this evening, so that we can have Cameron call in from his mission location for tomorrow morning's show. We're gonna have a good one tomorrow. Alex, if you're still watching, I'm gonna try my best to stay awake late enough to watch y'all tonight. I imagine you're gonna be talking about that, about California doxing its gun owners. But that will be my show tomorrow. Is we'll be talking about California doxing its gun owners, and I will see you tomorrow.